Hello and welcome to another episode of Crash Cinnamon. This is your host Makena. Today we're talking about money, your relationship with money, how you view money. Was money a topic you discussed when you were growing up? Is it something you were told to stay away from? What was your view of money? And certainly it has an impact on social capital, definitely. And in the bigger scale of things, it translates to the development of the areas we live in, the neighborhood. Okay, now in 2020, it's kind of difficult to measure how neighborhoods are growing in the sense of this. We all move around a lot, so not everyone has lived in the same area or neighborhood for 20 plus years, really, because of nature of jobs, education, a number of things, really, marriage, family. So sometimes it's difficult to see if, collectively, because of the income this area has, it has created a development. However, there's ways to look at it, especially if we use England, where I'm from, as a basis of discussion. There's a way you can measure. So according to the national statistics, it says that a lot of people have less than 100 quid saved in their account, £100, and that is shocking, but also very, very true. And it's because a lot of people are living between paycheck to paycheck. And in this era of, especially now we're in COVID pandemic, there are people, we're not even talking about saving. It's about even getting by to the next meal. And the effect of that, we might not see it now. In a couple of years, I'm sure there will be papers and studies of the impact of COVID and finances. However, there are those who are feeling it now because there are people who've lost their jobs, who've lost their houses, to become instantly homeless. It's scary. It's really scary. And so it's kind of made me think about this, because we're in the grander scheme of things. There's no way you can talk about social capital and not talk about money. There's no way you can talk about human relationships and not talk about money. They're symbiotic in nature. So what is my relationship with money? It's interesting. I was recently telling my husband how I started saving at the age of 10 or earlier, just about, just before I hit the double digits. And it wasn't by purpose. It wasn't because somebody, my mom or dad said, you have to save for a rainy day, all this kind of things. It's just, I found that I had this philosophy that if I don't need to use the money, I can keep it, until I need to use it. And as I grew up, it became a thing for me. And funny enough, when I was young, I had a lot of money. And I had people give me money for presents, for different little things here and there. I'd keep it for ages, and I became a really good saver. In fact, I think I shared this in another episode, but I'll talk about it. There are few key stages of my life where money is concerned, and they turned a corner for me. And today is also another significant day, and I guess that's why I'm recording this podcast. But I will take you back to when I was about 19. Yeah, so I worked as a careers advisor, and my manager at that time sat me down, and he was like, okay, listen, I don't want to be in your face, but I will be in your face. You're a young person like me. He was then in his mid-30s, and I don't know if you've thought about this, but what do you do with your salary? Like, you're getting a lot, and it's true, we're getting a lot for because I started as an apprentice and then I moved into a fully fledged advisor. And actually apprenticeships then were paying very crap money, if I have to say, but ours was really, really, really good. Our company then was, was funded by the government. Things were going well. I mean, I live in Liverpool. Just in Liverpool, in Merseyside, the county, there were 18 branches of the same company just in this area. And in one day, one green paper, one parliamentary discussion, that was all swept away and I was made redundant when I was 23. But that's a story for another day. However, so this discussion was nerve-wracking with my manager at that time, and it was awkward. One, he's a man. Two, he's of a different race than me, and I wasn't sure where he was coming from with this. But as we had 5 minutes in, I realized, okay, this person, he's not talking to me as a manager, he's not talking to me as a man, he's not talking to me as a person of of a different race who are normally deemed as superior. He's talking to me as another person, as a person who cares, another person who sees the future, who has just positive thoughts about other people. And he mentioned this thing called an investment savings account, an ISA. And I was like, what is that? Hold up. What is this? And he was like, see, go to your bank and ask them for this thing, and it's free. It's for those who don't know, an ISA is where you can actually save money tax free. The government has allowed people in England to save money for free. Okay, that won't be taxed. It's not for free, but it's your money. It just won't be taxed, and you can save up to certainly I think 20,000 now per financial year. Then I can't remember how much it was. Certainly it's been growing. And he said, I want to have a plan. I want you to have a plan. And next time we have a discussion, you don't have to give me blow by blow, but just give me a distinctive plan of what you're going to do with your money. And I'm not being intrusive. I just want to prepare you for the future. Maybe no one has ever discussed with you money. And we had this wonderful discussion for 1 hour about money and, stuff like that. And that was wonderful. And I thank that guy because he opened my eyes to something that had really helped me. Because of that, I went and opened an ISA and I put a standing order and I started saving money every month with my salary there. And by the time I became redundant, I had enough money. And actually, before I became redundant, I already joined uni. And by that time, that manager had left. And there's another manager, and he was like, "Oh, don't leave your work. We'll adjust your hours. You can you can do your course part-time. You don't have to do it full-time unless that's what you really want." And I thought about it and I was like, yeah, this is good. So through that, I was able to save money, educate myself for university, my degree. I didn't have to take a loan. And I'm really grateful to that because a lot of people already start in debt in this country. In fact, if you look at the statistics, it shows the age group of 19-24, most of them do not have savings. If some have about £2,000 saved up, thereabouts, and it's not a great way to start life because when you leave uni, you have to start looking for work. You're called for interviews. You have to find a way how to get there. Okay, you'll be living at home probably or stuff like that, and maybe your parents might support you, but in this grand scheme of things, you can see where it goes. And yeah, so eventually I kept up the standing order, and I was disciplined. And Somehow around the way, I lost the discipline and I started struggling. And that was actually in my late 20s. And I don't know what happened. I just lost track of what I was doing, my goal. And by the time I came back again, I had lost a few years because of the credit crunch, that happened. And also, situation in 2010 in the UK, how it was still, recession was rampant. So I had lost a bit of few chunk of years I could have saved up a little bit, So it came about when I had to think about, okay, what am I doing with my salary? I got another good job. What am I doing? So eventually I had this job. I was working in a humanitarian organization, and I was like, okay, now I'm living at home. My parents, I was paying for the expenses, which I selected what I want to pay, because I was like, guys, I know you've not asked me for money, but it will teach me a few life skills, and also to help and elevate the pressure. But my parents were never really fast. They were like, no, you don't, keep the money, it's yours, you just save. That's when the saving information started. So I thought, okay, I have this account, let me save. So I decided to open a different savings account, the same bank, so I can be putting money aside. And that worked really well. Because a few years later, I met my husband and we had to plan the wedding. And the wedding was only a struggle towards the end, because there were unexpected expenses that came up because of just being let down by some providers, so we had to pay extra again. However, I didn't struggle as such because I had kept money aside. Obviously I didn't know I was going to get married. I thought, this will be maybe money for when I want to get a house or travel or something, but have money aside that I don't have to worry about. And today I actually spoke to a financial advisor, and I was saying, this is what I have aside, this is what I want to do, this is what I plan for my family, especially with now having my child. I have to think of her education. In 4 years' time, she'll be in school, all these kind of things to think of. And it made me think, actually, what is our relationship with money? Here's the thing, there's lots of demographics here. In the UK, there's a gender pay gap. So off the bat, women are not saving as much as men because we're not paid what is due to us in the same job because of the gender pay gap. Obviously, where you live in the UK matters a lot. Those in London are getting paid more. So a lot of the average person in London may be saving almost 30,000 a year, whilst those in the East Midlands, they're coming up to 6,500. That discrepancy is huge. The gap is huge, and when you think about also expenses, income, and when you tie it with social capital, those of high social capital have access to things like checks. Because of trust, they can borrow money. They're seen to have developed more trust, so they can borrow money. Those of low social capital, and that means also low income. They don't have that trust, so they can't borrow money. Therefore, development goes down, and that's how you can see different areas vary. If you go up and down England, you'll notice that in the north of the country, it's not that developed, because it was purposefully, because the government had a different agenda, and that's political in different ways. But yeah, it killed a lot of industries here. And that meant a lot of families that, they couldn't save. Whilst everything was taken to the south, that meant they were more affluent, and they were saving, their kids were in better schools. So the demographics changed, and it's still the same way, and you go to certain areas in England, the poverty, you see the houses are so run down, the streets, wow, you can only see even now with the government's cutting funding to different cities. That means, like, for example, simple things like collections of bins has reduced to once every 2 weeks, and that changes the environment of a place. So I've realized, actually, apparently, according to statistics, again, when you're in your 30s, you should have already had 50,000 in savings, so that when you're 40, you should have 124,000, and thereabout. In your 50s, you see where the plan here is going. You should be increasing. Definitely, most of us are off the mark, and it's because of all this, dynamics I've spoken about. However, all is not lost. I believe there is a way you can, salvage something. One, start with a budget. No matter how little you're earning, even if you're earning in terms of commission, or if you are self-employed and you're paid in terms of contracts or projects you do, there is ways to save. For those who have not heard about an ISA, go get an ISA from your account. That's a good way. Set up a standing order, because COVID has shown us, you don't know what's happening tomorrow, and certainly our jobs are not guaranteed. Suddenly, key essential worker has become the thing, So I want us to have healthy relationships with money. If no one taught you when you were growing up, if it was not a discussion, Google is your friend. In your networks, if your discussions is about Netflix all the time, change people can talk about what are you investing in, how are you saving money, what are you doing in terms to survive. Don't get me wrong, I know money is not the be all and the end all, but it makes life comfortable. Being wealthy has its perks, in the sense of better education, better healthcare. There's a comfort that comes with that. I'm not saying you be in love with money crazily, but I'm saying manage your money so that you're not stressed. Half of the diseases we're having now, stress levels, is because we are not managing our money properly. So, pips, it's October, it's a new month. Get your money right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Crush Cinnamon. If this has helped you, share with other people, okay? Let us be the ones who start this conversation about money and all things good, yeah? Thank you.